Welcome to the podcast Living by Oak Values. I am Robert, an overlord celebrated for his benevolence, and my friend Gary, the authentic, adventurous father, life coach, and superior mailman. Join us today as we dive deep and share meaningful stories and discuss the values that help shape our lives. We will explore these values that guide us through our life, shaping our decisions, relationships, and raising our kids. We embrace a journey of personal growth, navigating our own paths. We are committed to living by these values and passing them on to our children. We are thrilled to have you here today and can't wait to share our latest episodes. Whether you're a longtime listener or now discovering us, welcome. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the comments below and check us out at northmancoaching.com. You're welcome to join our community, Northman Legacy Crew, and let us know what topics you're most interested in hearing about. Sign up with your email for behind-the-scenes, sneak peeks, and exciting updates. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Happy listening. Welcome, everybody. Today, we have a special guest with us. And Gary, would you like to introduce our guest?
Today, we're going to be talking with Ed Scali from New York. And I just want to let you guys know this episode is being sponsored by Northman Coaching and the signature Oak Value cards. Ed, how you doing, bud?
I am great. Thank you both for having me on. And how are you?
I am very well. So tell us a little bit about you. What do you do? How did you come across these values? Not so much the box of values, but how did you come across values in your life or know what they are?
Sure. So the first thing I like to speak about is the most important three things in my life, which are my children. Father of three. I have my bookends of girls. My son's smack in the middle there. They range from ages 10 all the way up to 18 years old. So I've really embraced and loved that hat that I wear. I've worn multiple hats in my lifetime, and I love being a dad. It's the greatest blessing from God, and I embraced it fully from day one, and I love every single minute of it and an aspect about fatherhood. A little more about myself. I grew up here on Long Island. 43 years old. Come from a family of civil servants. Background, my father, New York City firefighter. Grandfather, New York City firefighter. Grandparents served in the military. Aunt, uncles in the military. They also were in civil service. I had one uncle who was a New York City sheriff. My brother was a New York City firefighter. So to follow suit in that family tradition way back over 20 years ago, I became a volunteer firefighter in my late teens, right here in the hometown that I grew up in. And then a couple of short years later, I was blessed to be sworn in amongst the ranks of the men and women of the New York City Police Department. Served there for about 21 years until I got injured in the line of duty and was forced to retire. But along my tenure with the NYPD, I was a police officer, detective, and then promoted to the rank of sergeant, and also to the rank of sergeant detective squad. Where when I did have the incident, the injury that I received, I was supervising an amazing unit, one of the best that I served for with the NYPD, and that was with the NYPD's gang squad in the detective bureau. So for the last, it's coming up on almost 2 years now. The last almost 2 years, I've been a retired NYPD officer, detectives, SDS, whatever you want to say. Been retired for almost 2 years now. And one of the biggest challenges of retiring at such a early age was figuring out how to reinvent myself. And that's where we are right now. For the last couple of years, I want to say for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been hosting online platforms in regards to mental, physical, and spiritual health. Initially, back in 2019, I had started an online platform on Facebook, which is very closed, private, and exclusive to law enforcement officers, both active and retired. This was to assist those law enforcement officers with their, daily trials and tribulations to get them through life. We had experienced a unique and tragic, unfortunate spike in police officer suicides back in 2019 within the NYPD, and that was the catalyst to why I started this closed Facebook group. I remain secretive about it. It's impossible for you to search on Facebook The only way for a member to be added to that Facebook group, this law enforcement one, is to know somebody that's in it already. Our membership over the years has grown to close to 4,000. So it's a cause that's near and dear to my heart. We've helped a lot of men and women get some help, but more importantly, it's a daily place for the boys and girls in blue to go to realize that they're not alone if they're going through some troubles, but more importantly, that they themselves are there to help uplift other men and women if need be. So it's just a great community of cops. Then we go back to this past January. So as a result of the success of my closed law enforcement group, and I guess part of my own personal journey to keep serving others, I was asked by a lot of the members in my closed group to start a platform for the general public, for their wives, for their husbands, for their loved ones or friends that are not in law enforcement, for for the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and the stay-at-home mom and dad. So back in January, I opened up a Facebook platform, and that Facebook platform is called Project Accounted For, and it has similar tones. We really rely heavily on stressing personal accountability, taking ownership of your actions, but also reinforcing how important relying on your three basic pillars in your foundation of faith, family, and your devotion to your country, your stewardship to your country, that is extremely important. And that's to create that that mental, that physical, and that spiritual toughness. And then that's what we're all about on Project Accounted For. So that platform has only been up for, it's almost 5 months, or it's about 5 months now. And we have almost 1,200 people on that platform in such a short period of time. I had created a public profile for myself, which is the same thing. I've generated a following there of about 1,200 people, opened up an Instagram account for Project Accounted For as well. We're at about 1,000 members there. So it's been a real humbling journey. I'm extremely appreciative for the men and the women. Both of you gentlemen are on there too now, and I'm grateful to have you both there on Project Accounted For, as well as Northman Coaching. So it's been a great ride. I love it. I can't wait to see where it goes, and if of those 1,000 or so people, if it continues to grow, and each one of us is able to even reach out and help even one person on there, then all that was worth it. If we could help one individual find that ability to really muster up the strength and get resilience to bounce back in their life.
That was beautiful, and I agree 100%. If we can just find one person and change their mindset and make their life better, then it makes all this work worth it.
Right. So I've been really lucky with the trajectory that my life took. Again, I always give the credit to my mom and my dad. They really raised my brother and I extremely well. Yeah, I read a lot of books. Yeah, I'm a strong believer in the phrase that readers make leaders and leaders read. So I read a lot of books, and a ton of these books are written, off of a premise of a really tough upbringing. Yeah, my story's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. My parents were friggin' awesome. I love the shit out of them. Bleep it out if you got to, but I curse. Suck it up. They did a great job. My dad busted his ass. Not only was he a New York City firefighter, like a lot of kids, I wanted to be just like my dad. And I saw him not just go to work as a fireman, but he would take on 2, 3, 4 little side jobs just to make ends meet at home. Rearranged his work schedule to help my mom and my brother and I out when my mom started developing some health issues. My mom is a kick-ass lady too. Right around when my brother and I were, we were able to sustain ourselves and get ourselves up and out to school on our own. Kind of like the theoretical throwing us out in the wilderness to the wolves. She herself, she mustered up. She went to work. She worked with a very challenging, mental and physically disabled population for Nassau County BOCES. Those men and women that work in those environments to educate and take care of children with disabilities, they are true angels on earth. So my mom and dad really set an outstanding example for my brother and I. And it was more along the lines of like, if my brother and I didn't live up to their example, then I think we wouldn't have only failed ourselves, we wouldn't have only failed our community, but we would have failed our parents. And I think we both gained a lot of the value and values that we could talk about today from them. So I was raised in the right house, man. God bless me with two amazing folks.
That's an incredible story. Your dad was a Boy Scout leader, was he not?
My dad helped out with the Scouts. He was really more involved with head coaching and managing our sports teams like baseball and stuff like that. But we did some scouting. My brother kind of left it earlier. I left right around when I went from Cub Scouts up to Boy Scouts. So I never had like completed the scouting process. My cousins, on the other hand, talk about successful. All three of my cousins, Andrew, Christopher, and Matthew, they became Eagle Scouts. And that was under the tutelage of my Uncle Jimmy. He was my Uncle Jimmy Soria. He really embraced the scouting qualities, and my three cousins all became Eagle Scouts.
Awesome. I was in the Scouts for a minute. I think I got out right after Cub Scouts. Maybe I was in Boy Scouts for a minute, and I recall some kind of thing we did. And you were there. Your dad was there, and I believe your brother and my brother.
Yeah, it's probably like the Pinewood Derby or something, where you race the Pinewood Derby cars. You whittle them out. My father is like uber competitive. My dad's the kind of guy where, like, if you told him that cornhole was a professional sport, he would not only join it, but he'd kick butt. If you threw him like behind a dartboard, my dad's going to kick your ass. If you put him with a horseshoe in his hand, he's going to throw ringers. I mean, my dad is just like, he's that guy, where he's uber competitive. He wants to win. And, he'll make sure that it too. He'll be a thorn in your side along the way. He'll use that psyops just to screw at you and make sure that you flounder a bit so you can take advantage of it. My dad's very competitive. But so when we did like the Scouts, going back to the Pinewood Derby, how you race those little cars, I remember watching my dad up all night long. He would make sure that he got the weight perfect, the distribution perfect, the graphite on the wheels perfect. He wanted the aerodynamics perfect because, it wasn't so much my brother and me winning. He wanted to make sure when he walked out of that Pinewood Derby race with those cars going down the track, he could walk up with his chest out and his head high around the other dads and say, our car was the fastest. So that's my dad, man. He's so competitive. Even to this day, like Father's Day, my cousins are in their early 20s, and my dad's making sure they can kick their ass in cornhole. So
that's awesome. I kicked ass in cornhole as well on Father's Day. That quote you said earlier, readers make leaders, and what was it?
Readers make leaders and leaders read.
Right. That is that Harry Truman?
I don't know where it comes from, man. I'm good at remembering things. I might not always get the quotes right, but as far as like who said it, I'm pretty terrible.
It's all good. So, Ed, you picked three values. You picked faith, family, and stewardship.
I did. Yep.
Which one of those are you going to discuss today?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank the two of you for after I started the online platform project Accounted For, and things kind of started gaining momentum. Both you all through Northman Coaching had sent me this amazing Oak Values box that I got in the mail. It was the first gift that I ever received from somebody, due to this online type of platform and support group. So it was really humbling to get that gift. It was awesome. And then after I opened it up and I read which, by the way, I generally never read directions, so you should feel lucky. I read the directions and I narrowed it down these Oak values. There are 70 of them. I narrowed them down to three. And my three top Oak values were faith, family, and stewardship. I know we're going to kind of pick one, right, to talk about today. Yep. So, I mean, faith and family are pretty straightforward. I'm sure all the listeners here can understand why I picked my faith and my family as two of my three Oak values. But I wanted to discuss stewardship. And I guess I'll start by looking at the back of the card at the definition that you both wrote on here. And then we can kind of dive into that. So if I'm looking at my stewardship card, it's labeled card number 61 of the Oak values. And I turn it over on the back. It says the act or activity of looking after and making decisions about something. For me, I try to really strengthen three different pillars of my life, right? My mental health, my physical health, and my spiritual health. But I always say that I feel like to really be a contributing member of society that is on the path of success, on the path of happiness, and on the path of solid mental, physical, and spiritual health. And the reason why I say on the path is because none of those are really destinations, right? They're all journeys. You never are truly successful. You journey toward it. Because even when you hit your goals, if you're a successful person, you're going to create new goals. But if you really are one of those people that is striving towards that, and you make a conscious effort to be to really rely heavily and love, your country, love your family, and love your faith, they go hand in hand with mental, physical, and spiritual toughness. So faith and family, my two Oak values, I'll put those to the side, and we'll talk about stewardship to others. For me, the word stewardship really does corroborate what the definition is on the back of that card, but I like to take it a step further when I talk about my service to others, right? Whenever I went into some sort of an endeavor that revolved around my service towards other people, I never considered the monetary value that I would get in return, right? So like, for example, I became a volunteer firefighter. Because of becoming a volunteer firefighter, that really helped me out with my desire to become an NYPD police officer. When I became an NYPD police officer to help others, it was the untangible value of assisting another person or a stranger rather than the monetary paycheck that I would get every other week or the pension, right? Embarking even on something new like my online platforms, like my closed and private law enforcement group, or this very public and growing, expanding group called Project Accounted For. I started all of that, including this podcast, without anticipating or expecting any monetary value or reward in return. Now there's nothing wrong, of course. I mean, you have to make money to survive. You need to make money to pay your bills. You have to, cell phone bills, rent, mortgages, putting your kids through college, just putting groceries on the table. In order to thrive, in order to survive, we have to make money. So there is, nothing wrong with anybody that is serving others and does get a monetary reward in return. But I think we have to always remain humble in the fact that we got into this business to help others, right? So I think stewardship, to serve others and not receive or not anticipate or expect or do it for the sole purpose of getting a reward in return, that's true service. If you serve others for the sole purpose to make money, if you serve others to video it and take pictures of it and selfies of it and put it out on social media for the clicks, the likes, the shares, the comments, you're doing all of this for something tangible in return. And that is not doing a service for sacrifice. And I firmly believe that stewardship goes hand in hand. We live in it's 2024 America, and for the last few years now, we live in this insanely rude culture and climate where, I could be walking or driving down a block and I'll see some old man or old lady struggling to wheel their groceries across the street, knock their cart over by accident, all their groceries get spilled out all over the place, cars are whizzing by them left and right. And what are people doing? They're picking their phones up out of their pocket and they're videoing this. They're videoing people at their worst moment. For what? So that video will get shared? So people can laugh at these individuals at their worst moments in life? What happened to getting out of the car or running over to that person and helping them out? Helping them pick their groceries up off the floor, put them back in their cart, walk them across their street, maybe walk them home or whatever. And just do it for the sake of doing it, because that's what integrity means. It means doing the right thing, even when people aren't looking. But we live in this click and bait culture. Everything's done for the quote unquote gram because it's funny or it generates likes. And I think that we've become so impersonal, very rude, and just a culture that would rather exploit people at their lowest moments of life than reach out and try to pick, a fellow man or woman up.
Ed, I like the example you gave. Me and Gary were looking for quotes yesterday to use in this episode, and we actually came across one that, see how you like it. It's from the Stewardship Library, and it says, "My advice to you, live simply, give more, and expect less."
Yeah, I like that. I mean, To live a simple life doesn't mean that you live a simple life.
Yeah.
So to live humbly doesn't mean that you don't have your own, stressors. You don't have your own triggers. I think what you just read goes hand in hand with what I just said. To give more and expect less is a great way to go about your life. If you go out there trying to do for others to expect some sort of reward in return, not only are you going to feel let down, but you're not going to really be following the true path towards righteousness. I mean, we should not be giving for for that reward. We should not be giving to have some sort of pride. Now, when I say pride, I mean, have your photo plastered all over social media, or nobody really reads newspapers anymore, but like media outlets for doing. Everything's done for a like, everything's done for a comment, everything's done for a share or a vote. And it's horrible the way that and listen, I haven't always been like this. I mean, I fell victim to that too. I mean, I was I went through a period of life where I was vain as well. I felt like the only way to succeed or to reach success was to get recognized by others. So I would, if I made an outstanding arrest with my team back in the day, I would quickly send a message with a photograph to a supervisor, hoping that they would put it out on social media. And then I realized, here I am, I'm falling victim to what I would preach about not doing. And you know what? If a boss or a member of the community or another cop saw what we did and they felt like it was worthy enough to push out there, then that was on them. And that's fine with me. But I never wanted to go down that rabbit hole deep. And I'm glad I caught myself and came out of it where I was getting vain. And that's part of, that is part of my journey. It's why I'm able to talk about it now in regards to how I value stewardship.
Are you looking for a little boost in motivation and self-improvement? Check out our Oak Value cards. Empower yourself with our thoughtful collection of motivational and insightful core value cards. Boost your confidence, find peace, and nurture self-love. These cards are perfect for personal growth or even as a thoughtful gift. Remember, every small step you take towards personal growth is a step towards a happier and more fulfilling life. Start your journey now with our Oak Value cards. Enter promo code Stewardship for 20% off your purchase.
Well, part of our podcast is also to help people teach stewardship to their children. You're sitting there telling us what stewardship is, but how would you teach the teenagers of today?
Or even your sons and daughters?
Yeah. I mean, my children, I have 3 of them. I have, a stepson as well. And, those 3 or 4 are, that's my true legacy, right? So how do I continue them? And that's through the emulation of how I set an example. Listen, we're all human beings and we're not perfect. We're human, not perfect. That's one of my slogans that I put out there in Project Accounted For. In the event that I do make a mistake and I'm wise enough to recognize that, right? And I'm not so fickle to just continuously blame others and have that check-in moment with myself in the mirror and look at my mistakes and build on them. I want my children to understand that, listen, we don't go through our day trying to make mistakes. We don't go through our day, trying to insult others or do the wrong thing. But in the event that does happen, the wisest person out there is the one that could identify, acknowledge, fix, and never repeat those mistakes that we made, right? So I think that goes hand in hand with stewardship. My children have seen me for the duration of their life serve others. I've always tried to, and again, I've fallen victim to the vainness as well, but I've always tried to do that service, that sacrifice in silence. But also I want my kids to see what it means to do that as well. I'll give an example, and I've never really talked about this story publicly before, just for the sole reason that I do try to make sure that my children even serve in silence. So 2 years ago, we're finishing up a baseball game. It was just my son and I in the car. We were going to a friend's house just to go hang out. And I'm old school. My mom raised me old school Italian. You never walk into a home. You open the doors with your elbows. So we had to stop and make sure we got some pastries, some cookies, some Danish to bring to the friend's house. So we go swing by the bakery. And as we're pulling in front of the bakery, it starts deluging. I mean, it is downpouring. And there's a gentleman wheeling himself on a motorized wheelchair across the sidewalk. And he misjudged where the ramp was on the sidewalk, drove off of it, and just fell sideways into a puddle. And it is torrential downpouring. So this happens right in front of my son and I. So we get out, and I told my son, I said, get the umbrella from the trunk. I said, we're going to help this gentleman back up, but I need you to stand and cover the man with the umbrella. My son, without even thinking twice, he gets out, gets the umbrella, and he's not standing under the umbrella with the man. He's holding the umbrella over this gentleman who's laying in a puddle, keeping him dry while my son's getting soaking wet. And myself and then another person actually came out of the bakery, and we helped this man back into his chair, and he was able to go on his way. My son and I had a conversation afterward about doing that service for somebody else, and I asked him. I said, hey, you think I should maybe take a picture of you and write a nice little story and put it out there on Facebook so everybody could see what you did? And he told me, he's like, Dad, no. He's like, I did that because it was the right thing to do. He's like, I didn't do it because I need other people to know what I did. Now, lo and behold, what I didn't know was we had to go inside the bakery to still get the pastries, and we dried up a little bit in there. The ladies behind the counter saw everything that happened. They wind up giving my son like a whole box of black and white cookies. And if anybody's not from New York, these black and white cookies, like the butter cookies, half of them are frosted with chocolate frosting, the other half is frosted with vanilla frosting. And like bagels, I don't care where you live, nobody makes a good black and white cookie like New York. So they give my son this tray of black and white cookies, and they said, listen, young man, thank you so much for helping that guy out. We just wanted to give you this to say, that was really nice what you did for a stranger. And they wind up asking my son where he went to school. And, my son turns his head to me to see if it's all right to talk to strangers and tell them where he went to school. But we had they're a neighborhood bakery, so we had that conversation. And lo and behold, about 2 months later, when my son was moving up from the 5th to the 6th grade, I get a phone call from the school principal. And the school principal tells me that about a couple of days earlier, prior to graduation, the owner of that bakery called the school to tell them what a model citizen my son was that day. It was an unbelievable lesson for my son to know that, integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. And you know what? That day somebody was looking, and he wasn't expecting a reward. He wasn't expecting to be called out and made a model citizen at school, but it happened anyway. And just for him doing the right thing, even if he didn't receive those accolades, not only made me proud as a dad, but it made my son proud. And that's another value, I think, that goes hand in hand with true stewardship and true sacrifice and true unwavering service to others, is the self-reward that gets paid back exponentially. Now, one of my greatest life hacks when I talk to people through Project Accounted For, or through my closed law enforcement group, or just others that reach out for a little guidance, I tell them, I said, listen, my number one life hack is go out there and serve others. And you would be amazed at how much it helps you as the individual in return when you're able to sacrifice yourself to help another human being, even if it's just a stranger. It is extremely self-rewarding, and it gives you an unbelievable amount of purpose.
I agree 100%. With this not expecting anything in return, it's like with the coaching. When I coach somebody, it feels good to give them the ability to shift their mindset. It feels good to know that they can better their lives and that I've just helped them. And, I don't always get something in return for it, but just that feel good. I love knowing that what I just did can help someone else do better in life.
Sure. And it gives you the motivation to go out and keep doing it.
Yes.
Right?
And, you spoke of your son, but not your daughter. And if I recall correctly, she's going to nursing school, right?
Right. Yeah. So my older daughter is in nursing school. There are a lot of rewarding careers out. And listen, no matter what career people take, people need to really stay honest in their truths and work the hardest at it. It doesn't matter if you're in a career of service or not. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with any occupation that anybody does. Just being a successful, contributing member, positive member of society means that your occupation holds value. Whether you're a school teacher, or whether you're a cop, or somebody who is in sanitation, or a postman or woman, or a person who is building airplanes or motors, or the landscaper or the dishwasher at a restaurant, nobody's better than one another because of the job they do or the career they have. We're all human. We literally are born and die the same way. We wake up and go to bed the same way. We're men and women, So I always hate that comparison of having a more valuable or prestigious type of occupation. However, the same way my father and mother taught my brother and I to serve others, my older daughter, is embarking on adulthood, and she's choosing a career of service to others. And she's already finished with her freshman year away. She actually, because of her diligence and hard work, had gone into college as a second year sophomore because of the amount of college credits that she attained in high school. And she's well on her way to become a nurse. And similarly to what my parents taught my brother and I to serve others, my daughter learned from my ex-wife and myself to go out and serve others. And she's going to be undertaking that's a tough career to get into. I mean, Gary, you know that, growing up with your mom, it's not easy to be a nurse. What you see with your own eyes every single day, life and death. Life can be taken at a moment's notice, unexpectedly, from some of the greatest people we ever come in contact with. And it just goes to show how precious life is. So to see my daughter take on a career she's doing it already for the last 3 years. She's a lifeguard. I mean, she's been lifeguarding since she's 16 years old. So she's really embraced that stewardship, that Oak value on her own. The story I told about my son is a quick story. Who knows what he chooses to do with his life, with in regards to a career that he chooses, and even I see it in my younger daughter. My younger daughter's 10, and she's already expressed to me that she would like to be a firefighter, and I could see how much she values helping. She is such a kind soul. She's a tough cookie. My younger daughter oh boy, she is a spitfire firecracker, witty, street smart, but I'm going to tell you, she has the biggest heart of any kid that I know. So it's like, don't cross her path. She might knock you down, but she'll also be that girl that'll take a step back and reach a hand out and try to pick it back up.
You should be so proud of your kids, man. I can see that everything that you and your ex-wife have done, that they are following in the way you live.
Yeah, I mean, the kids too, so they're going to have their hiccups, but we're going to be, we're here to make sure that they acknowledge those life hiccups, but build on it and not get hung up on it. So, but they're great kids. I am truly blessed to have three beautiful children, smart. They're totally different, all three of them. For them to maintain some really good core quality values and become contributing members of society. That's and happy. I want them to be happy. I mean, I'll never try to inject my own personal beliefs to persuade them to do something that I want them to do. All I want for my children is to be happy, lead that path towards success, where they can look back and not regret what they've done.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That was awesome. And so what advice could you give to our listeners out there that are trying to add stewardship into their lives? How could they incorporate this value into their lives? What could they start doing to get more stewardship in their lives?
Well, what I'm going to start off by telling you is when your listeners begin to help others and they're out there helping people out, there are always going to be critics. If the three of us were able to walk on water, right? Somebody out there would say, oh yeah, it's because they don't know how to swim. There are critics in everything, right? So what I can tell your listeners is this: just friggin' do it. Don't listen to the critics. You could hear them. And if you want, make it motivation, but don't listen to those critics. Go out there, serve others, and only you yourself control your own reputation. And it's something that I would speak, the police officers and detectives that I work beside, I never called them my guys or my men. These were men and women that regardless of my rank, I always felt that we were equals, and I worked beside my men. I was never out in front of them. We always did everything side by side, shoulder by shoulder. And one of the discussions I would have with each of them, if I saw them kind of not necessarily slacking, but if they were being ridiculed or critiqued by other members of the service because of their actions, I would remind them that you as the individual investigator, as the individual cop, as the individual detective, whether it was, we were putting together a major gang takedown, you control your reputation. So don't let somebody else who's jealous of where you're at tell you that you're working too hard, that you're trying too hard, that you're doing too much. Do it. Work hard. Try hard. Work too much. Your name is the one that's on the bottom of that report. Your name is on the bottom of that case jacket, of that case file. Your name is the one that's going to be getting pushed up to the chief to let them know how this investigation went. Your name is going to be on that arrest report when hopefully you're able to put that case together do a positive investigation, and obtain an arrest and prosecution as a result. So don't let other people out of jealousy try to bring you down to their level. Go out there and do it to the best of your ability. And the other thing is this too. Don't wake up in the morning and say, oh man, I really hope today goes well, or I wish that I have an effective arrest, or I wish my case goes well. You could wish and hope and pray and dream, but none of that is going to come to fruition. None of that is going to become a positive memory unless you put in the hard work to do it. The same goes with stewardship. You can't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm gonna go out there and go help people. I'm gonna join the church. I'm gonna join the Scouts. I'm gonna create a coaching occupation. I'm going to go to school and become a counselor. I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to be a nurse. You're going to be what? You're not going to be anything if you're just going to talk about it. So you need to wake up, put one foot in front of the next and do it. And do it. Oh man, I'm really, I'm starting to get a little flabby around my midsection. I'm gaining weight. I'm going to start doing Atkins. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start going for walks. I'm going to start running. All right, well, did you? Are you? Or are you gonna just talk about it? So the same applies to stewardship. Do it. And I guarantee you, when you start walking down that path with others too, and surround yourself with like-minded people that are out there helping other people too, when you start doing that and helping other people, the rewards paid back to you just in that sense of satisfaction and positivity will carry you through the day to want to wake up the next day and do it all over again. And unsubscribe to the negative people in your life. I don't care if that means a relationship that you're in with somebody who you think is a good match for you, whether it's your boyfriend, girlfriend. Be happy people. But if there's somebody that you're with is bringing you down, or they don't support you with this mission, then they're not right for you. And surround yourself with like-minded people.
Absolutely. It's like have that circle of people around you that think like you and act like you and will push you to where you want to be, and in return you can push them to where they want to be. Well, Ed, I want to say that I appreciate you for your group that you're doing and for your work as an NYPD officer. I have another question real quick. What can people do that listen to this to become a part of your Project Accounted For?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for that too. I mean, these communities, they don't grow and they don't work the way they're supposed to if it's not for men like you, Gary, and you, Rob. These communities they're literally there for every single person that's a part of that community. So if there's something that you see, even if it's on another social media platform or something that the two of you come up with on your own or part of Northman Coaching that you think could benefit one person of that Project Accounted For community, you post it, you go live, you push it out there. I didn't start Project Accounted For. I didn't start my private law enforcement group for Ed Scali. I didn't start, and it's not for me, it's for us. And this community truly is ours. It is meant for not just me to go on there and talk to people and go live. It's meant for everybody to have that opportunity to share what they learned with others, because you know what? Of the 1,200 people that are on there, if one person can relate to what you're saying or another person's saying, then it was worth it. I'm grateful if one person a day can gain something from somebody else, even if it's not from me. So if your listeners want to be a part of Project Accounted For, you could go to Facebook, you could search for groups, Project Accounted For. You'll see our logo. Our logo has a green check mark with two lanterns. It says Project Accounted For, human not perfect, and then my catchphrase, 1 foot forward together. Join it up. It's free to be a part of. You don't have to be accepted into the group. Once you join the group, you're in. And by all means, you could read what's posted there. You could you could comment if you want. You can reach out to me individually. We could have a chat. Even if you're one of the silent observers of the group, that's one of the greatest gifts. Let me tell you, I've had people with Project Accounted For and with my closed law enforcement group send me direct messages or private messages on the side and say, listen, I go on there every single day. This group is awesome. I love the positivity. I love how people are trying to keep others accountable for their actions, but really try to root their lives in those three pillars of mental, physical, and spiritual health. even though I don't write, even though I don't like, even though I don't comment or post, I visit every single day, and it's helped me significantly. I had somebody 2 weeks ago send me a DM that the group actually saved their life. That almost brought me to my knees. I'm a strong dude. I don't get very emotional, but to read that really made everything worthwhile, to know that there's not going to be a day that I don't keep this group up and running because of a message like that came out of the blue from a complete stranger that I never met before in my entire life. If you want to be a member of Project Accounted For, go to Facebook, search for groups Project Accounted For. You could also find my profile on there. It's Eddie Scali Verified. I also have a Instagram profile, Eddie Scali Verified. So my profiles on Instagram and my profile on Facebook are more of that's me. There's a lot of what I put on my profile that I also share to Project Accounted For. But Project Accounted For is the community where we help each other take about accountability of our lives, of our actions. We are uplifting, and at any given moment, there's somebody on there that is a cancer to the group. I reach out to them, I tell them that they suck, and I remove them. I don't want that for me in my life. I don't want that for you in your life. They can peace out, because that's not the type of energy that we want at Project Accounted For. We are very realistic, though. I mean, listen, life is not that theoretical rainbows and unicorns, right? We always hear that catchphrase. So I'm never there trying to tell anybody that, oh, life is always great, life is always amazing, life is always fantastic, because life could just plain old kick you straight in the freaking nuts sometimes and take you down to your knees. But it is okay to be there, because we've all been there. And people who go through life trying to claim that they have not been at their darkest moments, and I constantly harp on the fact that resiliency is never found at the peaks of mountains, but at the darkest, deepest, coldest, dingiest abysses of life. And that is where resiliency is discovered and found. It's not given to you. Nobody can give you resiliency. You have to find it on your own, and you have to dig deep. But the group like Project Accounted For, or my closed law enforcement group, that's a community that's going to be there if you are at your darkest, deepest places in life. If you are at that abyss and you need a little bit of help, that's what we're there for, is to show you that you can get out of it. But you got to do it on your own. Nobody can make you do it. You have to do it, and you have to take accountability and start working your way out.
On that note, I was just talking to Rob this morning about you cannot always win. You have to lose to know what it feels like to lose. Truly appreciate being a winner and making life as good as it is. You have to experience that dark abyss.
Right. I mean, there's that other cliche phrase that says, you either win or you learn, right? You don't win or lose, you win or learn. I believe in that. Listen, I'm an athlete. I coach. There's always a winner and a loser. There is no win, lose, and learn column. It's winners, losers, or ties, right? Winners and losers. But it's, what are you going to do next game? What are you going to do next season? Are you going to take that loss and quit? Are you going to take that loss and continue to get depressed and tell yourself, I should have done this, I should have done that, and go down that path of destruction? God's still great, man. God gave me a gift and tools. I could use those tools to build myself up or break myself down. The same applies to life's losses. Listen, there are plenty of losses that I had in life, and I'll be the first one to admit, man, I freaking lost there. I should have done better. I could have done better. Whether it was shame on me for not preparing or shame on me for not taking a different path, I take accountability for everything that I've gone through in life, right? Everything. But I never gave up. Whether it took me a day to realize what I did wrong, or it took me 10 years to realize what I did wrong and could have done better, that's called growth. And that's why I'm here right now. And I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I'm going to continue to have losses, but I'm also going to continue to identify them, learn from them, change my own behaviors, change my own actions, to not only help myself down that path of success in my journey of life, but now as a steward towards others, to help them as well.
That is strength right there.
There are a lot of people that go through life blaming others for bringing up their personal triggers. It is not that other person's responsibility to worry about me and my feelings. It is my responsibility only. And that's what Project Accounted For is for. That's why I really harp on accountability. It is, you need to be a bigger person to identify what bothers you, build on that, grow from it, and fucking win.
And to the listeners out there, If you would like to go further or deeper on this topic, reach out to us. We want to know you and hear your powerful story. Chat or connect with us by booking your free session on northmancoaching.com. And folks, that's a wrap on today's episode. And of course, thank you all out there for listening. We're so glad that you could join us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Living by Oak Values. And you feel generous, leave us a review. It really helps us out and keep these conversations going. For more updates and exclusive content, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or visit our website at northmancoaching.com. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode that you don't want to miss. Until then, keep discussing your values and embracing the journey. Take care and stay authentic.